Okay guys, so let's continue. Now, as I mentioned before, one of the amazing features from WebInspect is the ability to record macros, web macros, so that you can go to specific sections that probably cannot be reachable by an automated scanner. So there are a couple of macros in WebInspect. One of them is, as I said before, the login macro recorder. Let's see how that works. So we open the macro recorder, and basically what we're gonna do is this, guys. We know that we have this login page, right? And this is very important. When you are doing a web scan against an application, there are two approaches. One approach is the black box one, where you don't know the credentials, right? And you will do your best to find vulnerabilities in order to bypass authentication, which is fine. But also, after that, there must be another scan with valid credentials. And the reason is because whether you were able to bypass the login form or not during your black box approach, you also need to test the application with a valid user. What that means is you are testing the application with a user in order to know if something wrong or some vulnerabilities can be found during a session for that specific user. Even if you have multiple profiles, multiple roles in your organization, which means they might have different menus, different sections within their own profiles, you must use all those different credentials so that you can also test all in order to identify vulnerabilities in those profiles. Keep that in mind. It's not like, okay, so it is black box, I don't know anything, and don't give me any credentials. That's fine in the first phase, but you also need to need to test for vulnerabilities in authenticated sessions. Okay, so in this case, we know that we have the username and password, right? So we want the scanner to log in and then keep scanning. Just log in. We're gonna help him to log in by creating this macro, and then just move on. So in order to do that, we're gonna come to the login, and then we say, okay, so we move to this specific page. Let's copy paste here. So we just put here, and as you can see, this web macro recorder has its own built-in engine. So as you can see here, it can render Firefox, which is like rendering Firefox browser, but you can also choose Internet Explorer if you want, or different user agents for mobile. We recommend for WebInspect Firefox because Firefox is also used for this specific tool in order to create the macros. In other words, it is more transparent for this tool when it is rendering Firefox because it knows the APIs and all the design was based on this browser. So once we are here, we're gonna say, okay, record. That means it's gonna start recording whatever we do. You can see here it says navigate to this website. From here we say click on sign in, and you can see we go to the sign in, and at the same time the macro is saying I click on sign in. The next step is we fill it out with the valid credentials and click in sign in, and you can see that in the left side it is doing exactly the same. For example, here in the sign in, you can see it says click on login, type username, type the password, and click in sign in. Exactly what we are doing, right? And that's pretty much it for the login, because we are already authenticated. We say stop. Okay, the next step is WebInspect is going to tell you replay the macro so that we can see if it is working as expected. So we just click on play, and see what's gonna happen. WebInspect is gonna go, follow the steps, go to the login, put the username, put the password, click in sign in, and then it's gonna get in. Sometimes, believe me guys, it is picky, it is not buggy, but depending on the application, sometimes it's not able to replicate it, so you need to find ways to do it. But as you can see, it is highly configurable. You can click on any step, go inside and say, no, I don't want to click, I want double click, I want drag, I want get property. I mean, you can change anything, or even you can delete a specific step, right? Like this, you can say, you know what, I don't want this one, just delete it or disable it. So it is highly configurable. So as we saw, the macro played properly, so we say yes, it works properly. And then the next step is that WebInspect recommends that it is useful to know a page, authenticated page, so that WebInspect can confirm when it was successfully authenticated. It is just recommended, it is not mandatory, but we always take it. So we're going to say yes, we're going to tell you a valid page, and then it says, okay, highlight it. We highlight, like, let's say cash accounts. We know that as soon as you authenticate, the cash accounts information is going to be listed. So we say use this as a validator that you have been successfully authenticated. And it says, okay, fine, let's play it again. So it's gonna again go to sign in, put the username, put the password, click on sign in, get inside, validate that it is a cash count, and then it says good to go. We say yeah, it's good. And then check this out. WebInspect is gonna try to detect a logout condition. 90% of the time it's gonna find it, and the reason is because most of the time when you are logged out, you get a redirection into the login page, right? So as you can see, it says the macro detected a valid logout condition, so the macro is complete. If you want to see the condition, you can go to logout conditions, and you can see that it detected a 302, which is a redirection instruction in the HTTP header in order to go to the location login. As I said, it's basically saying I detected that there is an option where if you click on logout, it's going to go to login page. And the reason he wants to know that is because if during the scan for some reason the application gets disconnected or logged out, it's going to call the login macro right away in order to log in again and keep scanning. That's the only reason. Okay guys, so here we can just say save, right? Because we want to save our login macro. And then we can say here, let's just replace with this one, login macro. We say yes, replace it, yes. And we have our login macro, guys. Okay, that's pretty much it. And just keep in mind that it is highly configurable, and sometimes it's a challenge because sometimes it's not easy to replicate. Now that we have our login macro, let's try to run a scan and see how it works. So we're gonna say start a basic scan. In this case, we're gonna say audit only. We're gonna say crawl and audit, yeah, so that it can crawl and audit, but we're gonna say later on site authentication. And here we can click on record to record a login macro, but we already created ours, right? So we just go and say use our login macro. So basically what is going to happen is WebInspect is going to start running, and then when it detects a specific web login form that matches the one with the fields in our macro, it will use it. Here we're going to put, just so that it can be quick, cross-site scripting, just to check for cross-site scripting. We click next. We kind of abort the profiling so that it can be kind of quick. We already explained all these different options. We click next, and then we click scan. Okay, so then right now what's going to happen is WebInspect is going to start running a scan against that specific website, and as soon as it finds the login form is supposed to use the macro, guys, and is supposed to be able to authenticate. The reason we know it is working fine is because we should see the internal sections after authentication. In other words, if we come here and we get to username and password, right? If we enter it, once we are inside, we can see different links, right? Let me just click on continue. Oh, I put the wrong password. Username, password. Okay. So here you can see that we have different links, right? Like account summary, we have account activity, right? We have transfer funds. So those different sections might be reachable now by the scanner. Something pretty interesting here is that, and as I was saying the other day, if you want to do pay bills, for example, or add a new payee, right? As you can see, you need to fill out with different information, then click add, and those different steps sometimes is not possible to be identified by just an automated crawler. So this is our second macro that we're gonna describe now, which is called the workflow macro. We just created a login macro, which can help us to authenticate. But what if we also want to specifically tell the scanner to come to account activity, go to credit cards, and then find transactions, put something here, and then go to transfer funds, change it from checking to loan, let's say, and then an amount of whatever. And we want, like here in this case, guys, you can see that there are multiple steps, right? In the description, you click continue. As you can see, it is a 2 steps process here. So probably this is not gonna be able to be identified by an automated crawler, because you know it needs to be intelligent to know that it is 2 process, and then after that click on submit, which is close to impossible. So we're gonna create a second macro which can tell this application to follow those steps, right? So we're gonna do that in a second. So just coming back to the scanner here, it's gonna take some time, and the reason is because the hardware on this specific lab is not the best, so it's kind of slow, but plus it is time consuming. By the way, WebInspect uses SQL Express as a default database, which is free, but it's not the fastest one also. So eventually we're gonna start seeing here attacks sent and all this information, so that we know that it is running properly. So you can see here the analysis start incrementing. You can see the total request is 1. You know, it's kind of starting slowly creating crawl 0 of 2, audit text 0 of 1. And here, this is the dashboard, guys. It's pretty cool. In the dashboard, you are gonna start seeing here the critical vulnerabilities found, the high vulnerabilities found, the medium, low, the informational ones, which are not vulnerabilities but good to know, the best practices, and you're gonna start seeing all the details in the dashboard. You can see now that it's crawl. Now here you can see, guys, that it is going to log in and sign in. You can see that. So that means that it is trying to authenticate. So if we go to the login, we can see something like, let's it's a little bit slow, but anyways, in the sign in, guys, if we try to increment the view in a few seconds, let's check here. If we try to increment the view, you can see that the post sent as expected, user login, username, and user password. You remember that? That's because of our login macro. So that means it is working properly. Here we have the vulnerabilities are gonna be listed here. Keep in mind that we only tested for cross-site scripting, just for to do it quick. We can come back to the dashboard so that we can see how it is performing. And well, we're gonna leave it a little bit so that it can work. You can see that it is making some progress. There are no vulnerabilities found so far, but it is running. While waiting for that, we can come here and we're gonna open another option for us, which is in this case the web macro recorder, sorry, the workflow macro recorder. So let's see how that works, guys. So we go to HP Security Toolkit and we go to workflow macro recorder. Okay, so that now what we are gonna do now is what I just described. I'm gonna create a macro, workflow macro, that not only is gonna authenticate to the web application, but also is gonna go to specific sections of the application so that we can reach those kind of 2-step or 3-step wizards, and therefore we can be able to cover the full application. It is coming up. As I said, it's a little bit of time consuming, but eventually we will get it. Okay. We can see that the macro, you can see these guys, macro requests 85. That's pretty cool because it's telling us that it's using our macro. And but let's see how it goes. Okay. It is coming. Our web macro workflow recorder. Oh, you can see here, guys, manipulation, attack 35, exploratory 31, audited 12 of 21. So it is making progress, but we have not found anything yet. Okay, so let's try to I'm gonna make a pause and we will come back in a few minutes later once we have some results and our web macro is up and running. So we are back, and the scan, another cool feature that it has is that we can pause it. In this case I pause it, and then we can start resuming later. It doesn't make any sense to keep going. It can take hours, right? So but the idea is that you guys can see how it looks on the scanner, and in the next class I'm gonna show you another scan with vulnerability so that you can see how we can validate them. So I'm gonna close this scan, which is the one with the login macro. As you saw, it was successfully used in order to authenticate. And let's talk about workflow macro. Okay, so for that one, it's exactly the same thing. So basically we go to the website, right? Exactly the same approach as with the login macro. So we go to the website. Once we are in the website, and then let me increment this. Probably this. Okay, so we reach the website. Okay, and then now we say record. Okay, so we go again to sign in. You can see again in the left side the steps are being followed exactly as we are doing it. We go with the username, password. We click on sign in. Once we are authenticated, we're gonna go to specific sections that we wanna scan. Let's say that we go to account activity. As you can see there, click on account activity in the left side, and then from here we can say find transactions. We just put something here just so that we can send the request. Keep in mind that in this case we want to find other inputs. When we click here on find, it was recorded in the macro and is another source of potential vulnerabilities. Transfer funds. We say savings, change it to checkings. Let's say that 100, and the description is just test. We click on continue, and this one, as you remember, is the 2 steps wizard. So second step, we click on submit. You successfully submitted your transaction, right? So basically this is our macro. Let's go one more. Let's say we go to pay bills. We say from sprint account savings. Let's say we're gonna pay $20 on, let's say, the 22. Description, second test. As you can, and then we click on pay. As you can see in the left side, everything is being recorded exactly as it is. Okay, so we are done. Let's say that this is the only thing that we want to test. We can keep going, but so that you get the idea. We click on stop. Okay, and then as you remember, WebInspect tells us, hey guys, try to verify if it works properly by replaying the macro. So let's see if that works. We click on play, and then the macro says, okay, go, I went to the website, put the username in, put the password, click on sign in, I am inside. Now go to account activity, find transactions, put test, click on find, then to go to transfer funds, change to check-in 100, test, click on continue, and you can see the second step and the third was executed properly. Pretty cool. Then we go to pay bills, the date and the description. Second test, and then finally pay. And that's pretty much it, guys. You can see that it was executed successfully. So we say yes, and finally we just save our macro. In this case, I don't know, web macro 1. Also, we just replace it. So is that cool, right? It's pretty cool. And then again, you can always come here and say, you know what, this type 20 argument, change it to whatever, you know. It's highly configurable. Okay, even in some steps, let me check, let me see if I find another steps interesting. Okay, so here in account activity, when we click on account activity, guys, it is the macro scanner is smart enough to say we have alternate steps here. You click on there and it says you can either go to click on account activity, or you can go to account activity list box, or you can select the option 2. In other words, it can skip some of them. Why? Because it can reach directly all those other links. It doesn't rely on them step by step in those specific links, and therefore it can tell you we can do other paths if you want, right? So that's pretty cool also, and pretty useful, because sometimes if your macro is not playing, you can try another step. You can say, let's try this or this, you know, and eventually you will be able to execute it properly. So that's pretty much it with the macros. We learn about login macros and workflow macros in order to allow the web scanner to log into the application, and in this case to go to specific multi-step wizards that cannot be possible in a automated way.